My name is Father Joseph Mateucic. It's a Slovenian name. I am a member of a missionary congregation, St. Francis Xavier Missionary Society, and I would like to thank Father Bill and Father Douglas and Bishop David for the opportunity they've given to me and my community. Father Dominic is also around. To be with you, to speak about the missions, to ask for your support, for your prayers. Just to give you a little hint about my own background, you know that many U.S. seminarians go to Rome to study on their way to the priesthood. I was sent from Italy to Chicago. And I hope that you don't have any rotten eggs or tomatoes ready, since I am a Chicago Bears fan, you know, so. Few but good. No, when I'm thinking about the missions, I'm thinking about four things that I like to share with you. The first is connected with what Pope Francis told us at the beginning of his pontificate, when he said, I invite all to develop a personal, daily, close relationship with Jesus. Missionaries are people that are developing that relationship. We have the two readings, first reading, Genesis, and the Gospel of Luke. They tell us, how can we develop that relationship, and both speak about prayer, persistent, daily. Like our body needs food to survive, our soul also needs food. And prayer is one of the foods that the Catholic Church gives you and me to sustain our life, food that somehow brings you and me into the mind and heart of God. The second thing is connected with what Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI said at the beginning of the Year of Faith, when he said, I invite all to rediscover the joy of your faith. I know we have no time, but it would be interesting to ask one another, is your coming to church a source of joy? Or, football season is not ready yet, I have nothing to do at home, no good program on TV, let's go to church. Is your coming to church a source of joy? Is your prayer life a source of joy? Your desire to share your faith with your children and grandchildren a source of joy? Missionaries are people that through the grace of God are discovering and rediscovering the source of that joy, faith not only for themselves, but a faith that has to be shared, whether it is here in the United States or in the other 20 countries where our congregation works. The third thing has to do with an experience I had many years ago that has to do with Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. We were in the city of Milan, Italy, in the soccer stadium, 90,000 young people listening to Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa in the middle, central field, little presence, powerful presence. And she related a story. And she said, years ago, the news went out in Calcutta that my convent had no sugar. The day after, a knock at the door, Mother Teresa goes to open. There is a little boy, maybe 6, 7 years old, and this little boy all excited, Mother, Mother, I heard that you have no sugar, and I'm here to give you what I have. So this little boy opens his hands, he has 3 sugar cubes, and he gives them to Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa to these 90,000 young people said, you see, what is important is not how big your projects are, how many things you are able to accomplish. What is important is how much love you put into whatever you do. And I believe that you and I, despite our limitations, the missionaries, all of us here present, try to put love into whatever we do. Also remembering that Jesus told us, he didn't tell us, like one another. He told us, love one another. I can disagree with you. You can disagree with me. And yet Jesus tells us to love, not to like. We can disagree, we can dislike, but we ask us, can you go a step higher to love? The fourth and final thing has to do with the story we know from the Gospel of John. If you remember, Mary is invited to a wedding. And Jesus and the disciples are going with Mary to that wedding. Mary is the first one that realizes that something is not quite kosher, they have no wine. And if you remember, Jesus wants to start a palaver, what do you want from me, woman? My time is not yet come. And if you remember, Mary cuts through the chase. She looks at the servants, and you remember what she said, do whatever he tells you. Missionaries are people that try to do whatever Jesus tells us to do. For you, I believe that all of you are familiar with the famous WWJD, what would Jesus do? And it is something that is good for all of us. As a missionary, I was in Taiwan and China, and I let you into a little secret. I will be leaving the United States in August, going back to Italy to spend a couple of months with my mom, and then I will be going back in November to Taiwan and China. China is a big country. When I came back in 2006, the main item in the news in the US was finally the United States has reached the 300 million population mark. And I was somehow smiling within myself because China has 1,400,000,000 people. It's a big, big country. Some people in China make lots of money. I remember I was in Beijing, I was reading the paper, there was an article about a young woman, 28 years old, working for the city of Shanghai. She bought and paid in cash. You know what she bought? She bought a Ferrari. And she paid in cash $100,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100,000. But China is also the country where you have hundreds of millions of people that live on a salary between $75 and $150 a month. Sometimes people tell me, but Father Joe, in China with $150 you can do many things. Let me tell you, not even in China you can do many things. And among these people, we felt that the love of Jesus was asking us to work with people that had children that were mentally and physically challenged. So we started a center with a different spirit. We wanted to convey to the physiotherapists and the helpers and the nurses working in that center, we wanted to convey the fact that every child is special, every child is a gift, every child is a treasure. And so in those 10 years we were there, we took care of 800 children. And somebody tells me, Father Joe, wow, 800 is so many. But China numbers are, you can say, insignificant, China has 60 million people that are physically and mentally challenged. And so our 800 is like that little drop in the bucket. And yet Mother Teresa reminded us so clearly, what counts, how much love you put into. Today we are no longer in that center. We are no longer in the center not because the Communist Party found out who we were and kicked us out. We are no longer there because two things took place. And when we saw those two things taking place, we said, mission accomplished, we can leave these places in good hands and we can move to another area starting all over again. What did we see? Some of you might remember in 2008, there was a major earthquake in Sichuan province in China. 50,000 people died during that earthquake. It became international news. Why? Because many school buildings built with poor quality material collapsed because of the earthquake, killing many school children. If you remember, China has and had the one-child policy. And so families that lost their children in the earthquake, they went back to the government. You told us that we can have only one child. What happens to us now? That our son, our daughter died in the earthquake. So the government started opening up the possibility for a second or a third child. Anyway, as soon as the news from the south reached the north, where we were working, people that sometimes do not have enough for themselves heard that someone in the south needs their help. They started fundraising. And we were amazed. They don't have enough for themselves. They started fundraising to help their brothers and sisters in the south. Water, medicine, blankets. The second thing that happened was that our co-workers came back to us and they said, you see, we were here because your salary was higher than our expectations. Today we are here because we realize that these children are worth our time, are worth our love, are worth our effort, and we can continue to keep up the center moving forward. It was beautiful for me to realize the love of Jesus touched our heart, through us touched the heart of these people, and they touched the hearts of others. I feel somehow it is similar to sometimes in church we sing that, the prayer of St. Francis, make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, Lord, let me bring your love. You know the song. It is a circle of love that touches you, me, everyone, and everyone is a part of this circle of love. Today, there is a second collection, and I have a specific project for this second collection. There is a group of women, some are sisters, some are lay women, and they are working in the city of Beijing. By the way, Beijing, 30 million people, and they are working setting up a school. The reason being that many people from the countryside go to the city to look for work. Moms and dads, their children have two possibilities. Either you stay in the countryside with grandma or grandpa, or you go to the city, but if you go to the city, the children cannot go to the public schools. The government put a limit. And this group of women, sisters and lay women, they started a school because they don't want to see street children wasting potential, getting into trouble and so on. So they are asking us, we have 75 school children, elementary age school children. We have a school. The school is 3 rooms that they rent every year. And they have school, after-school programs, activities, and so on. The rental of those 3 rooms is $3,000 a year, $250 a month for 3 rooms. And they're asking us, can you help us? And that is why I present this little project for your consideration for the second collection. I feel that some of you might never go to China, you may never go to visit these 3 rooms, and yet, the gospel reading speaks about our Father. In God, those people in China are my brothers, my sisters, are your brothers and your sisters. We are Catholics, and the Catholic means universal. Our love extends beyond borders. And so there is an possibility given to you to say, I try to do what I can for my brothers and sisters. 3 more things to share before closing. I think that Father Dominic left outside, maybe leaving the church, there is a little flyer. I spoke about our work in China, but as I said, we work in 21 countries around the world. And it would be interesting for you to take this flyer, take it home and pray. Pray so that we missionaries, but all of us, may continue to develop that relationship with Jesus. Pray so that all of us may continue to discover the joy of our faith, not only for us, but for everyone. Pray that we may continue to put love into whatever we do. Pray so that we may do whatever Jesus tells us to do, whether it is here, St. Francis of Assisi Parish, or back in China. The second thing, pray for vocations. We all need, I think the church, yes, we have problems, and you know that already. We are not the perfect, group of people, but pray for vocations. Pray for committed lay people. Pray for committed deacons. Pray for holy priests, holy religious, holy bishops, and holy pope. And to mom and dad here present, and grandpa and grandma here present, a challenge. Don't be afraid to let your children and grandchildren know that to follow Jesus is good. Don't forget to let your children and grandchildren know that to follow Jesus is good. Jesus is our Redeemer. Jesus is our teacher. Jesus is, you can say, our GPS. No one else is our GPS. Pray so that vocations, that generosity to say yes to Jesus, to follow Jesus can be, how good it would be if somebody from here, maybe 10 years from now, will stand in my place and say to you, hey guys, I came back from Indonesia, And that's what the love of God is doing in that country. And the third and final thing, thank you. Thank you in advance for your kindness, for your generosity, for your support. You know that we are in the missions because you are here. And we count on your support, on your prayers. Pray so that we may remain faithful to our desire to share Jesus with others. Be assured that you and your families are in our prayers. As together we put flesh to that beautiful statement of St. Paul, it is not I that live, but Christ lives in me. And this is what we strive, you and I together. Let Christ live in you. Thank you.